You know that feeling when you've tried everything? You've made the calls, sent the messages, thought it through 100 times, prayed, waited, and still nothing moves. And at some point you stop asking, what do I do next? And you start asking something much darker. Is this just how it is now? I want to sit with that question today, not rush past it, not throw a motivational quote at it. Because I came across a verse recently that I think deserves a real, slow conversation, and it changed something in how I see my own problems. So grab your tea, get comfortable. Let's talk.
Welcome. This is the uxQuran podcast. I'm glad you're here. Today, I want to explore one verse from the Quran, Sura Fussilat, verse 39. And before you think, okay, this is going to be a lecture, I promise you it's not. What I want to do is just think out loud about it, because I genuinely believe this one image, 11 lines of Arabic, contains a framework for how to deal with problems that most self-help books take 300 pages to get to, and they still don't quite get there. Let me read it to you first. Just listen, don't analyze yet. Among his signs is this: you see the earth dry and barren, but when we send down on it water, it stirs and swells. Most surely, he who gives it life is the giver of life to the dead. Surely he has power over all things. Okay. Now, what did you feel when you heard that? I'll tell you what I felt the first time I really sat with it. I felt located, like the verse found me somewhere specific, in that dry, barren place, and instead of telling me to cheer up, it just said, yeah, I see it too. That's real. That's what it looks like right now. And that honesty, I think that's where it all begins.
There's something I've noticed about the way people try to help each other through hard times. And it's well-meaning, I want to be fair. But there's this reflex. The moment someone says, I feel stuck, or I feel like nothing is working, there's this urge to immediately correct them. Oh no, don't think like that. Look at the positives. Things could be worse. Count your blessings. And I get it. It comes from love. But what it accidentally does is make the person feel like their perception is a problem, like they're failing at thinking correctly. But look at what this verse does instead. It doesn't open with, don't worry, everything is fine. It opens with, you see the earth dry and barren. It validates the view. It says, you're not imagining it. This is what you're looking at. Dryness is real. Barrenness is real. The feeling of nothing growing is real. And then, only then, it introduces the other part of the story. That sequencing matters so much because you can only move forward from somewhere honest. You can't leap from a place you're pretending isn't where you are. So the first thing this verse teaches me about thinking clearly is start with what's actually true, even if it's uncomfortable. Don't dress up your situation before you understand it. Sit in the dryness. Name it. Okay, this is dry. This is barren. This is where I actually am. Now let's think. Here's something subtle that I keep coming back to in this verse. It says you see the earth dry and barren, but the earth is not defined as dry and barren. It's appearing that way, at this moment, in this season. And I think one of the most common errors in human thinking, and I do this all the time, is what I call the snapshot trap. We take a picture of our life at its worst moment, and then we build our entire worldview on top of that one image. The business failed once? I'm not cut out for this. The relationship ended? Nobody will stay. I tried and it didn't work? It's not meant for me. We turn a moment into a conclusion, a snapshot into a documentary. But the earth doesn't do that. The dry earth doesn't declare itself permanently barren. It's just dry, right now, in this season. And this is such a practical question to carry with you. When you're sitting with a problem, ask yourself, am I looking at a fact or am I looking at a phase? Because those require completely different responses. A fact requires acceptance. A phase requires patience. And the verse is quietly suggesting,
most of what feels like a permanent wall is actually a waiting room.
Okay, so this is the part I find most interesting. The earth is dry, and then water comes down. And here's what I want you to notice. The earth does not produce its own water. The solution enters the system from outside. I've been thinking about how often we get trapped in a problem because we keep looking for the solution inside the same closed loop. I need more confidence, but I can't build confidence without first succeeding, but I can't succeed without confidence. I need money to start, but I can't start without money. I need to feel better to make the change, but I need to make the change to feel better. We go around and around, and it's exhausting, and it feels like a logic problem with no exit. But the earth doesn't solve its own dryness. It simply remains open, and the water comes from somewhere else entirely. From clouds, from a different system, from above. And I think there's something quietly revolutionary in that image for how we approach our own stuck places. What if the solution isn't inside this problem? What if you've been staring at the ground so hard, trying to will water out of the soil, that you haven't looked up to see the clouds forming on the horizon? This verse asks us to stay open to solutions that don't come from where we expect them. A conversation you weren't planning to have, an idea that comes at 2 a.m., a stranger who mentions something offhand, a door that opens in a wall you didn't even know how to door. The rain doesn't announce itself weeks in advance and file a schedule. It comes, and the earth that receives it is the earth that was simply available. So the question I'm sitting with lately is, am I open? Even in the dry season, am I staying open to what might arrive from a direction I'm not watching?
I want to read that phrase again. It stirs and swells. Not it immediately blooms, not it transforms overnight. It stirs first, then it swells. And I find that so honest and so kind at the same time. Because I think a lot of us abandon things in the stirring phase, when the evidence of change is so small you could argue it isn't there at all. When you've made the change, done the thing, taken the step, and looked up, and it still just looks like wet dirt. We're so trained for the before and after, the dramatic transformation, the glow-up, the overnight success. And so when we're in the in-between, the quiet, underground, stirring phase, we interpret that quiet as failure. But the language of this verse is the language of biological reality. Things that are genuinely alive don't perform their growth for an audience. A seed becoming a tree is mostly invisible for the longest time. I read somewhere once that bamboo, actual bamboo, grows underground for 4 years before a single shoot appears above the surface. 4 years of nothing to see. And then it grows 90 feet in 8 weeks. The question isn't, is this working? The question is, have I watered this yet? If yes, then trust the stirring, even when you can't see it.
Now, I want to talk about the move this verse makes at the end, because it's kind of breathtaking when you notice it. It goes from dry earth and rain all the way to the resurrection of the dead, from a weather pattern to the most impossible-seeming thing in existence. And the logic is, if you've witnessed that, then you have all the evidence you need for this. That is analogical reasoning, and it's the sharpest kind of thinking there is. You take something you've already verified, something you've seen with your own eyes, and you use it as a foundation to reason your way towards something you haven't seen yet, but have good reason to believe. And I want to apply that personally. I want to ask you, and I'm asking myself this too, what has already come back to life in your story? Not someone else's story, yours. A version of yourself you thought was gone, a relationship you thought was finished, a dream you'd completely buried,
a capacity you thought you'd lost forever? What has already, in your own experience, been dry and then bloomed? Because whatever that thing is, that's your evidence. That's your personal proof that the pattern in this verse is not poetic fantasy. You've lived it. You've seen it happen in your own timeline. Use that. Reason from it. Say to yourself, if that came back, then I have no logical basis for permanent despair about this.
The verse ends, "Surely he has power over all things." Not some things, not the easy things, all things. And I sit with that. I really sit with it. Because there's something it's not saying that I think is important. It's not saying, and therefore your life will look exactly how you want it to look on your timeline in the shape you've imagined. What it is saying is, the capacity for transformation exists, fully, completely, without exception, in every dried-out corner of your life and mine. What we're being asked to do is not pretend the dryness isn't real. We're being asked to not conclude from the dryness, to keep observing, to stay open, to notice the small stirrings, and to reason from everything we've already witnessed that rain is not finished with this earth. That's all for today. Sit with it, take a walk, come back to it. And if there's a dry place in your life right now, I hope something in this conversation made it feel a little less permanent. Take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you next time.